So I'm kind of curious to know what the process is in Major League Baseball in terms of when players are getting tested, how that the IL works, and what is the protocol in terms of testing?
Yeah, so it seems like there's been some confusion in general with testing lately. This morning, 4 teams announced, or it was reported that 4 teams haven't gotten their tests back from when it's from 72 hours ago, and they were supposed to get them back. So it's Major League Baseball had a statement come out that said that they're working on those. The holiday weekend kind of messed up those plans on getting those test results in, but it sounds like they're trying to get them back to normal, and then trying every 2 days to keep those tests going, because obviously they need those results and numbers to come in to keep the season going. In terms of players who've tested positive, there's 31 players who've consented to their name being released. Major League Baseball announced over the weekend, I believe it was Saturday, might have been Friday though, that they had 31 players test positive and another 7 staff members. It'll be interesting to see what those numbers look like once more tests come out. Hopefully they go down, obviously, but it's quite possible they go up depending on who comes into contact with who. 14 teams have had players test positive. 16 teams haven't had players test positive yet. So hopefully, hopefully that number comes down. The Twins, Braves have each had 4 positive tests, and the Cardinals and Rockies have each had 3. 9 players are known to have opted out so far, and I'm surprised that it's been that few. I would have expected more. All players who have opted out so far do not have a health exemption, so they're forfeiting their salaries so far. Like I said, that number surprised me a bit. I thought it would have been a higher number of players opting out, including a higher number of players exempt with health issues, but so far no one's been granted that exemption. So that's the basic rundown. There's a lot. I think we'll find out more in the next day or two about how the testing is going to work, because it seemed like it seemed like we kind of knew what it was going to be like, but then with this morning's setback that was reported with a delay in testing, it's been a bit unclear. So hopefully once the next round of test results, maybe next 2 rounds of test results come out, we'll have a better grip on what that looks like.
Okay, so today the Nationals and the Nationals and the Astros are the 2 teams that got shut down for the delays in testing. Just so the listeners know that. Go ahead, Danny.
I was going to say baseball is just so different than these other sports because they're not playing in a bubble. They're playing in their home stadium, so there's going to be traveling involved. So there's just so much more risk involved than all the other sports. I mean, in basketball, for example, if you have a break out there, it can become ugly fast because all the teams are there. But baseball is just interesting where the teams are traveling. So it's interesting to see, including like to Toronto, so they're going to another country. Like there's traveling involved. Even if they keep it regionalized, there's still traveling involved. And I'm assuming the players are staying in their homes. So that's going to be interesting. I don't know if you saw what the Red Sox did at Fenway Park with their locker rooms. They set up all the suites, since there's not going to be fans. They set up the suites where they're putting 2 players. They set up lockers where it's like 2 players per suite, just to separate the players, and it's pretty cool. I saw a video of it, and it's set up very nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was super cool. I saw that on Twitter. Fenway has such a neat ballpark, but they have really small clubhouses and locker rooms. So I think finding that way to utilize the open space, and then obviously with nice space, those suites are really nice up there. They made them look really cool in the videos, made it look like home basically. I think that was a really great idea. And if other teams follow that and do the same thing, there's going to be people out there who say, "Oh, don't copy the Red Sox. It was their idea." But personally, if all 30 teams do that, I think that'd be awesome. That looks so cool. And I think, I was really impressed by the Red Sox for that.
Do you have teams, by the way? Because I'm sure as a writer, you're trying to be fair with everybody, but what's your team?
Right. I'm from New England, so the Red Sox are, the team I follow the most just by, from the news that I see just on, TV every day and stuff like that. I don't cheer for them or anything, but that's the team I follow the closest.
You don't cheer for him, please.
So you don't cheer for anybody. Like you're not at home like.
No, he cheers for him. He cheers. I'm sure he cheers for them. Don't give that up yet. Don't give that up yet.
I mean, I will. You know, I do watch
yet.
those games more than other games just because they're on. But honestly, it's all as long as there's baseball, especially right now. I'll be cheering. I'll be cheering for the league as a whole if they can.
He's a writer. He's a writer, Joey. Let him be fair and judge people
Not
fairly.
yet.
Not like
Not
you.
yet.
You're trying to judge people, and then your fandom comes out.
Well, I know that he's from New Hampshire, so I automatically assume he's a Red Sox fan. But I decided to let that go. And the thing is, and this is the cool thing about New England. You're not going to find too many people that are in New England that are not Red Sox fans. They're loyal. They're loyal. You're not going to find a Yankee fan, a 27 championship bandwagon guy walking around with a Yankee. You know what I'm saying? That's not going to happen. Very loyal. So I already knew that he was going to be a Red Sox fan.
If they do exist, they're not going to say it because they're going to get absolutely destroyed.
Right. Yeah. Right. Joe, you got any question for Andersen in terms of what we just spoke about?
No, I don't actually.
Okay. All right, Andersen, what do we know about Mike Trout? You mentioned that you're surprised at the number of opt-outs. And the thought that comes to my head when you say that is it's still early. And I have a suspicion. I'm being very negative, very pessimistic about the whole thing. 3 weeks ago, I assumed there wasn't going to be baseball. So I'm coming at it from a pessimistic position. I see what's happening in the MLS. I know teams are going to get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys positive, on and so forth. All these things are down the road. So I expect more opt-outs. So what is the word as of the moment on Mike Trout and his decision concerning whether he will play or he will opt out? And the reasoning for his opt-out, so everyone knows, is he has family members who, well, his wife, one, is expecting in the short term. So he doesn't want to be in a bubble, possibly contracting from other players and then taking it back home, so on and so forth. What have we heard about Mike Trout and any other players of that caliber, assuming that, no one's Mike Trout's caliber, but close to that caliber?
Right. I think it was yesterday he said he was pretty pessimistic about the season outcome and that he hadn't made a decision yet. And I've been, it was probably 2 months ago maybe a month ago where people were saying, all right, looks like the season's going to come back up. Which players are going to be opting out? And the first player's name that came up was Mike Trout because, like you said, he's expecting a child soon. And another thing is he's such a model player and a face of baseball that he's going to, he's not going to be afraid to opt out of the season. And at the same time, if he convinces other people to, either other players to opt out or other, just people in the public to stay safe, wear masks, stuff like that, I think he's going to use his publicity to do the right thing for, set a good example for people. So I'm not saying he's, going to do this for attention or anything, but I feel like it's, it's trending towards him opting out. He's got a bunch of money. He's not going to be losing anything if he opts out. So for Angels fans' sake, I know a couple guys who are Angels fans, and they were really excited about this year with Anthony Rendon joining the team. And it seemed like this could be a good year for them to compete, considering it's a shortened season. For Angels fans, I would feel disappointed, but I feel like, sooner rather than later, we're going to see Mike Trout opt out. But I'm sure he hasn't made a decision yet. I know he said he hasn't. Some players do make that decision and don't announce it, but I feel like he probably hasn't decided yet. But if he does make a decision, it'll probably come in the next week or two. I don't think he'll let it last too long, too close to the season starting.
Dan?
You have Mookie Betts also said he has doubts about the season even happening. So you have more and more, you're starting to hear these star players and even some owners in different sports voicing their opinions more and voicing their doubt and concern about the seasons happening. So with these numbers, us being in the Northeast, the numbers are a little different now. Things are going down or pretty low. But if you look across the country with these numbers going up, I get their concern. So you're starting to hear it more and more. So as these seasons start getting closer, you're getting these players and even some owners speaking up more and more. So I'm starting to have some doubts myself.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to, I think that those players are in the loop and they know that obviously they don't know what's coming in terms of numbers and, exact cases announced and stuff like that and what states are going to get hit hard. They're not experts in that, in that realm. But I think they know basically what to expect, what other players are considering opting out. And I just think they have that pulse of what's going on in baseball. And, from a baseball sense, they're pretty pessimistic about the season. And considering, like I was talking about with Mike Trout, model player, role model and example for Major League Baseball, just like him, Mookie Betts, shares that similar idea of being a role model and that face of baseball. So if both him and Mike Trout are saying they're not confident in the season starting up, I don't think fans should be that confident either, as much as I hate to say it.
And then I heard somebody mention today, what happens if a team gets 10, 12, 14 players test positive? Do you just pull that team out of the league and continue with the league?
No, that's why they're carrying 60, Dan.
It's crazy.
Right. And that is going to be that's the crazy part. Even we're talking about Angels fans wanting to see Mike Trout play with Rendon and this and that. And you're thinking about, who's going to be the best teams? They have this guy. None of that is real. None of that is real. Because 3 weeks from now, it could be all AAA squads. Okay, all right? None of that is real. We don't know what's what, who's playing, when they're getting sick, when a family member gets sick and they have to opt out. There's so many different variables.
If you decide to play, what if you decide to play and then your next trip is to a city that has a major outbreak and they shut down things in that city?
Right.
What if you don't want to go as a team? You're like, I don't want to go there.
Right. And I want to throw this at Joe because he's a healthcare worker. And we were in the chat and he was talking about the second wave. Joe, just really quick, what are you seeing or expecting in terms of second wave? In generic terms, obviously there is no surety in any of it.
So people assume the first wave was what hit like New Jersey, New York, and all that, right? And nobody else really experienced it everywhere else. But essentially, what has happened is this first wave has now started to spread to everybody. The reason people feel a second wave is coming, number one, you don't have a vaccine. There is no treatment for it. And then you're also seeing people that are unwilling to do things like wear masks, social distance. They're still going swimming at the beach. They're hanging out, having barbecues and mixing. And so that's the concern. And generally around, the time of year, like in the fall, is when you have flu season anyway. And so the problem is, like, if this continues, this cycle keeps going and going and going, it's going to hit us a second time because you can catch coronavirus again, which is what has been determined. So you would assume that you're immune to it or your body would see it and you can fight it off. You can't necessarily fight it off. And so that's the concern. And I imagine there's probably some athletes who have done a little bit of research or they're just a little bit nervous about it. It's a potential issue. I mean, even for healthcare workers, we were talking today and I heard some people say, I'm not doing that again. Like, I'm not going to go do the things that I had to do during COVID, because for me, I had to do things outside of my scope of practice because they said, well, we're not doing what you normally do. You got to do something else. So you can be doing things that you like, I don't want to be wrapping, dead bodies in the unit and taking them outside. Like, that's the type of experience people were having. So I can imagine a sports figure saying, like, my family is important. I would rather stay home with them. I'll just ride this out. I've got plenty of money. I may as well be safe. And I can't say I disagree with anybody that feels that way.
Right. And additionally, because I'm afraid of it coming back to the Northeast. Right. So I think that, and I'm not a healthcare worker in any, or I don't even know what I'm talking about. Just a suspicion. Right. It can come back. It's not just now we're good and it's all gone. It can come back during a baseball season, which is in 2 months. and shut everything down again.
Exactly, and that's the thing about us. We shut everything down on this end, which kind of helped bring the numbers back under control. But as you slowly start to open up, then you have to pull the reins again. So until something is figured out on how we can actually treat it or stop it, I don't know if it stops. And that's why I feel like there potentially could be a second wave, which is what the experts are saying.
Okay, the Council Sports Talk on the GS Radio Network. Please make sure you like. You're watching us on Facebook. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think.